Perfect. So as we walk through the DocuSign templates this morning, please interrupt me with any questions that you have. This training is all about you, so I want to make sure that you walk away feeling more comfortable and how to set up templates. It is kind of labor intensive on the front end. So that's why I was saying I want to make sure that it's a right fit for your business, because it may not be worth the time for you. But on the flip side, it may be a perfect fit to help you solve or kind of create a couple shortcuts here and there in DocuSign. So since we're just working in DocuSign templates, I'm just going to start going straight to DocuSign. So I'm going to go to rooms.docusign.com, and then I'm going to log in. And I was just going to sign me into my rooms here. All right, let me just make sure everyone is on mute. All right. So now I'm in my rooms. You've updated. Perfect. We're good to go there. So now I'm going to create a room this morning, but it's not going to be a room for an actual client. I'm just going to create what I'd call a test room, because we need to find the GAR forms that we want to use for templates. So to create your test room, I'm going to click on rooms. And then in the top right-hand corner, I'm going to click on new. I'm going to create a test room. Today's date, 121, my role, agent owner, select a side. It doesn't matter which side you use. So you could do list and buy side. It doesn't matter. And then click save. Perfect. Our room has been created. So now DocuSign will take you into the details tab of that room. Now, traditionally, if we were using DocuSign for a client, we would want to update the information here. But today we want to leave everything blank, or as blank as possible, because we want to create a template that we can use for any client and any transaction. To get the DocuSign forms, I'm going to click on the Documents tab.
One question here,
Yes.
just want to know that so when you probably upload all the forms here, we can whenever we want to use it, we can just go in this room and make a copy on the actual one. Is that how it is, like a DOS loop, or no?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So so right now we're going to walk through creating the template, and then we'll walk through how to use the template, because it is a different functionality than what we're used to of searching for the GAR forms and adding them to the room.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll walk through it so that way you know how to do everything. So in the Documents tab here, I'm going to add the GAR forms that I want to create for templates. So I'm going to click Add in the top right-hand corner, then click DocuSign Forms. And I would say the most common DocuSign forms that you would probably want to use for a template would probably be your purchase and sale, so your F201, and then maybe your F101, your exclusive seller listing agreement, and buyer brokerage agreement, F110, exclusive. So I'm just going to select those three today. So I'm going to click Add. Now it's going to add those documents to the room. Since we're creating templates, we want this document to be as blank as possible. However, one of the reasons we're creating a template is because we want specific pieces of information that are going to remain consistent across every transaction and every client to be pre-populated. We can fill in that information here, or we could do that in just a moment when we create the template. For ease, I would recommend just doing it here. So if you wanted to open up your seller listing agreement, give that a second to load. Now I'm going to skip over all of this information up here because this is going to be transaction specific. And then come down. All right, so this is my seller brokerage engagement. Now we have our marketing. Now for this, for section 3, you could put FMLS, first multiple listing service, Georgia multiple listing service and Keller Williams listing service. All right. Then for your commission, you could check this box here, and I might want to leave it blank because you may be negotiating a different commission with your clients versus the office's 6% for a listing. And then you would want to, come over here and then maybe check that box. And the reason you're checking the box is just to kind of save you some time later on, but you don't have to. You do it whatever you're comfortable with. And then we'll scroll down. Commission adjustment to cooperating broker. The seller shall not pay the cooperating broker the commission if any of these circumstances. Separate commission on a lease. So I'm going to leave this blank. Protected period. I'm going to add 90 days. Agency and brokerage. The following types are not offered. So I'm going to go ahead and select dual agency and sub agency because those are not offered by Keller Williams in the Rawls Group. So I know that's going to be the same. And the seller does not consent to the buyer acting in dual agency. So since we're not allowed to within the Rawls Group, you can go ahead and select does not, and you'll be good to go. Want to leave probably section 7 blank because that will depend on the actual transaction. And then for negotiations, I would go ahead and say seller does authorize the broker to assist and extent requested by the seller for negotiations. Continuing down. Keep scrolling past all of the explanation. Keep going. Now, here we can check which brochures we want to provide our clients. Again, if you know every single time that you're working with a seller, you're going to provide very specific brochures, you can go ahead and check those. That'll save you just a step later on, or you can leave them blank, and that way you can send specific ones for each transaction. Same thing with exhibits here. You may not have the legal description or lead-based paint for that transaction, so you may just want to leave that blank. And then scrolling down, we have our special stipulations box.
Excuse me, Nick, can I ask a question on the exhibit?
Yeah.
So an exhibit would include the disclosures, right? Like a community association, the homeowner's disclosure, correct?
No, you wouldn't have to include. Now, let me take a step back. I'm not a compliance broker, so I would defer to Lynn and Alita to give you the correct answer. My understanding as a licensee is that no, you would not have to include those as an exhibit here because those would be exhibits more for the purchase and sale agreement.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, but I would definitely check in with Lynn and Alita on that.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
All right. So scrolling down, special stipulations for whatever reason, and I don't know why, they left this tiny little box for special stipulations. So if you have a couple stipulations that you know you're going to put on every single listing agreement, you can go ahead and add those here. And so you can just type them in. If you need more space, you can add the additional special stipulations page, whatever works best for you. I'm going to leave all of the seller information blank, and then I'm going to come down here to the broker information, and I'm going to fill in all of this information for myself because that's going to stay the same no matter what transaction I'm working on. So I'll just type in Keller Williams First Atlanta, MLS office code, KWFA 01, license number H33313, broker phone number 404-531-5700, fax 404-531-5708. My name, Nicholas Kaur. My phone number 404-414-8238. 8238. Fax number, I'll just do the office numbers. That's simple. My license number 379-844. Type in our office phone number or address 200 Glen Ridge Point Parkway, Suite 100. And then we'll do Atlanta, Georgia, 30342. My email address. So you can see this is going to save a little bit of time later on by just going ahead and filling this in, because this is going to be the same on every listing agreement. So now that I filled in this information, I'm going to click Save and Close. All right. So now I have my listing agreement. It's been updated. It would be the same process for every other document. I'm just going to open up the purchase and sale because I think this is probably going to be the template that could save you the most amount of time and is going to be probably one of your most commonly used documents. Now, again, I'm going to skip through all of this information that's going to be specific to this transaction. So closing date, closing attorney, earnest money, due diligence. Here we go. It's going to automatically put in Keller Williams First Atlanta because I put that in the buyer brokerage, and those two are linked. But I'm probably going to leave all of this blank because I don't know, because I might be representing them as a client or a customer, who knows, or designated agent. Maybe I'm co-oping with another First Atlanta agent. So I'm going to leave those blank. Scroll down. Keep scrolling. Then we have our exhibits and addenda. So I would, again, leave these blank because that's going to change depending on the transaction. Special stipulations, still a very small box for special stipulations. I don't know why the Georgia Association of Realtors only provided this amount of space. But if you have special stipulations that you include on every single transaction, then you can go ahead and type that in here. And this would be, you know, maybe if you require, or every single transaction you ask for a home warranty, or you ask for a clear termite letter, anything that you want on every single transaction, you can include that here.
Nick, how do we, when I used that last, I actually had to butcher my stipulations because they don't fit in that field. Do you just go to the additional special stipulations?
Yeah.
You have to fill another form?
Yeah, so you would just check that box there. Now, granted, don't do it now because we're creating a template, but theoretically, if you were working on a very specific transaction, you could just click that additional stipulations, and then you would add that form into your room, and then you could put your additional stipulations there.
So that might be a good template because for me, I know that I have 3 standard stipulations all the time. So could you just go ahead and add additional special stipulations as one of these?
Absolutely. And I think that's a really smart idea, Tim, because you can go ahead and have those steps already prepared. And then what you may want to do if you decided to create a template is you can put, please see attached special stipulations.
So in other words, don't even fill this out, this box, but just go ahead and have that standard stipulations document, because I don't think I've had a situation where I can ever fill this without going over into the additional. So just cut to the chase, type what you did in this template, and then have a special stipulations template with the standard verbiage.
Right.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, and the reason you theoretically don't need to type this in here. And again, I'm not a compliance broker, so this is just what I would do if I were creating this for my clients. It's just letting that agent know, just another double check, that there's going to be some stipulations, because they may just zip by this check mark here and not see them. So, and I want to make sure that everything that is going into the offer is going to represent my client best, and I want to know that they are accepting the stipulations. I don't want any confusion. So that's just a nice little workaround there. Again, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to leave all my buyer and seller's information blank. It's filled in most of my information over here from the previous document. I'll just write in, I'm a member of the Atlanta board and my MLS office code, KWFA 01. Everything else looks good to go. And I'm going to click save and close. So any questions on what we've gone through so far and which fields we have filled in here in the room versus fields that we have not yet filled in. All right, well, let me know if any come up. So now that we've gone through and we filled in the information that we know is going to be consistent across every single transaction, we need to download these PDFs to our computer. So to do that, I'm going to check those two documents, so the listing agreement and the purchase and sale. I know I added the buyer brokerage into this into the room, but it's just going to be the same process. So we'll just leave that one blank. And then, oh, okay, well, I guess it's not going to let me download there. So I'm going to open up the document. All right, and then I'm going to come over here to document actions, and I'm going to click download. So it has downloaded the listing engagement agreement. I keep forgetting that they've renamed most of these documents. And then I'll do the same thing for purchase and sale. Open it up. And then document actions and download. Perfect. So now I'm going to exit that.
Nick,
Yes.
where are they downloaded to? To your computer? Where did you download them? I mean,
So
you
they-
click download, I saw it down at the bottom, but where are they?
Yeah, so they are downloaded onto my computer.
Okay, so it doesn't ask you that where do you want to save it? It's just,
Your computer may. I have my computer set up so it automatically downloads into a downloads folder.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
As long as you're on your computer.
I thought it's a magic. I mean, where did it go?
Unfortunately not. So
Okay.
now that we have our PDFs of our documents that we want to create templates for, up in the top right-hand corner of DocuSign, you can see I have my picture here. If you've added a picture, it'll be your picture or your initials. Click on that, and then we're going to click on the switch to e-signature. To create the templates, we have to be in the e-signature side of DocuSign. So I'll click e-signature. All right. This is what the screen looks like. It looks a little bit different than what we're used to in the room's functionality. And then up at the top, I'm going to click on the templates tab. And this is where I'm going to be able to create a template. So these are templates that I've previously created, so just kind of ignore those. And we want to create a new template. So I'm going to come over here to new in the top left-hand corner, click on this bright yellow button that says new. And then
Nick,
create.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my dog started barking, so I missed that part. Can you go back just a little bit?
Yeah, so okay, I'll just click on home. So when you click into the e-signature side of DocuSign, this is where we're going to create our actual templates. It looks different than the room side, which is fine. To get started creating your templates, I'm going to click on the templates tab up here at the top. And then I'm going to click on the yellow button that says new, and this is where I'm going to be able to make a new template. So I'll click on create template. And now you'll notice this screen looks really familiar to the envelope screen when we are preparing our documents to send for signature. And it's going to be very similar processes from now to creating the rest of this template as we would have in an envelope. So I'm just going to start at the top and work my way down. So I'm going to give this a template name. So I'm going to name this my 2021 exclusive. Let's do seller listing engagement agreement. And I'm just going to put in an address or a date here for 1/21/21. I need to add the A there. Perfect. You can give this a description if you wanted to. You don't need to. Next, I'm going to upload my document. So I'm going to click upload here. And then I'm going to come to downloads. And I'm going to upload this form. So let me come over here to car brokerage engagement. Here we go. So this is my download. I'll click open, and it's going to upload that PDF into DocuSign. I'm going to scroll down. It's going to give me the ability to add recipients. Now, we're creating a template here, so I don't know exactly who I'll be adding, but I do know that for a listing, I'll be working with a seller 1, a seller 2, and the listing agent. So rather than actually adding actual recipients, I can add roles. So I can click role here and type in seller 1. Now you'll notice I spelled out 1. You want to make sure that you spell out 1 or 2. So it's seller 1, seller 2, buyer 1, buyer 2, depending on the form, because that's the way DocuSign names the roles. And this will ensure that when you add any documents from your room and with the templates, that all of the roles and permissions will be mapped correctly. So I have seller 1, I'll leave the name and email information blank. I'll click add recipient. I'll do seller 2 and then add recipient. I'll do listing agent. And I know it's going to be me, so I can just click on myself and add myself there. So those are all the roles that I need to add. If I wanted to, I could set a signing order, but I'm not going to do that here in the template because I can set the signing order when I go and create an envelope. So I'll leave that all blank here. So I'll scroll down. Now we have the ability to write a message. And again, because this is a template, I'm not going to write a message because any message that I write in the envelope when I send these out for signature will override this. And so it's just creating extra work for myself. Now I'm going to click on next. And this is the same exact screen that you would have seen.
One question.
Yes.
So for buyers brokerage agreement, we do the same. Like we're saying that buyer's agent, you said listing agent, and then over there we say buyer's agent, right?
Yeah. So instead of listing agent, you say buyer agent, and then you'd put your information.
Okay, whatever is in the form, right? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So this is the exact same screen as the envelope editor. So you should be pretty familiar with it. We have the roles up here in the top left-hand corner. So we have seller 1, seller 2, and myself. Excuse me. And then we have all the standard fields. Now, this is where creating a template will become time intensive because now that we have a template, this document that I upload is technically a PDF, which is a flat document, which means that there are no text fields on it, which means that I now have to add every single text field back into this document that I will need to fill in for my listing agreement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. I'm going to select myself as the recipient. So all of the fields are mapped yellow, so I know that they're mapped to me as a listing agent. Then I'll come over here and I'm just going to start adding text fields. So I click on text and I'll add a text field here. I'll go through and I will make sure that they all are formatted to fit correctly. Now, one thing that I do really like about DocuSign is that I have the ability to right mouse click on a field that I add, copy, paste, and I can just drag that over. And this saves just a little bit of time from having to, reformat every single text field. So let me just drag this back so it fits properly. And then I'll do the same thing here. So click paste so I can add this parcel ID. So you see, this is going to be kind of time intensive for you. It's going to take a little bit of time for you to go through and add all these text fields. It can be cumbersome. So as we have those top fields selected, we'll scroll down and now we'll go to section B, legal description. Here we have checkboxes. So we want to add checkboxes, and I'll come down here to the checkbox feature. So I'll click on checkbox, and then I'll add a checkbox right there over number 1. But because all of these items are all included in section B, only one of those checkboxes needs to be included. So if I click on the plus sign, that allows me to create a group. So these two checkboxes are connected, and I can do the same thing again. Click the plus sign, and I'll do it again. And then I'll just drag that over here to be on section 4B. So now I can come over here to formatting, leave them all data label, double check everything, group tip, validation, and then select at least, and I can, this, by selecting validation, select at least one. This will, DocuSign will ensure that when I'm filling in this field, that at least one of these checkboxes is filled in. Now, that being said, I have to come back here and I need to fill in some text boxes because sometimes, well, most of the time I try to use an exhibit for legal description, but sometimes I use the deed book and page. So I'll add my text box so I can fill that in. Again, right mouse click, copy, paste, and then just reformat quickly. There we go. Now, I'm likely not going to use a land lot and not using the condo very often, but also another thing, let's say you're like, you know what, I don't really do a lot of condos. You don't need to fill this in here because we could always add text boxes in the envelope later on. So that is an option. So again, we're going to go through, we're going to add all these text boxes. So do text box, for a listing period. Now, one thing you'll notice is that all of these text boxes that I'm adding are all dark yellow. That means that all of these text boxes are required. So when you ever click on a text box or any standard field, this menu pops up on the right-hand side, and you'll know here it says required field. I can uncheck that, and then that text box just becomes outlined in yellow. The difference between a required and a non-required field is that a required field will stop, the system will stop you to make sure that some piece of information is filled in that field before it allows you to go onto the next field and complete signature. So I would recommend that since we are creating templates that you just go ahead and leave all of these text fields as required because they are required for you to fill them in. You want to make sure that all of your documents are correct and binding and protect both you and your client. And then we'll scroll down here, we see marketing. Look, I've already filled in first multiple listing service, Georgia MLS, KWLS, so I don't have to worry about those fields. I know that's going to be the same on every single one. I'll add a text box here. So we'll do that, and then I'll just copy paste. There we go. And then my name is down here in the bottom left-hand corner, and Alita confirmed that because my name and brokerage are here, I don't need to worry about my name being involved here in that copyright statement. So we're good to go. Now, I'm not going to go through and add a text field for every single item here because it's going to be the same process and I want to be respectful of your time. So I'm just going to continue to scroll down. You can see here, we already have dual agency and sub-agency selected. There's no changes there. If you have any special circumstances, you could go ahead and add checkboxes here, but it is again something that you could just add in the envelope if you don't have those very often. Scroll down. Keep scrolling. Scrolling. All right. So now we get to the brochures. So similar to what we did earlier for the property description fields, I could add those checkboxes right here and just click plus, 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 plus. Just kind of reformat it so it's on the right field. Plus. And I can come down to validation. Now here it says validation select at least 0. So the system isn't going to require that I check these boxes, but it does give this does allow me to check them. So I can say which brochures I'm going to send. Again, you do the same thing here with the exhibits, and you would also want to add a text box. Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about the validation when you add the checkbox that what just you did? What is that for? What are those for?
So
on the right side, yes.
Yeah. So the validation over here, select at least, at most, exactly, select a range, and then you can type in a number. And this is going to let the system know that at least one of this group of checkboxes has to be checked in order for this document to be considered complete. Now, so if I have my validation over here selected as 1, I have to have one of these selected. If I have 2, then 2 of these brochures need to be selected. But
And what about the top part? What about that? Go a little bit at the top that you just did something else over there. The data label. What is this?
Oh, data label. You don't need to worry about that.
Okay, so you just the only thing that you did was about the validation. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I missed something. Okay.
Because I mean, I know I'd say most times you're going to share the brochures with your client. So you want to have the ability to check them. But sometimes your client's like, I don't want to read that. Don't send it to me. So you don't need to check it here. So it just kind of depends on the situation with your client.
Yeah, but just want to say that because I checked with Lynn one time and she was saying that we need to send them anyway, either they read it or not. Just
okay.
Yeah.
So now I have the ability to check them, and I just have to make sure that I do include those brochures. So scrolling down, we have our exhibits, addenda. Again, you'd add checkboxes, text fields as needed. For special stipulations, I didn't write any before, but you know what? I do want to have the ability to write in any special stipulation. So I could come over here and I can add a text box. And what I can also do is I can make it not required. So it's fine. So I can write in if I wanted to. And if I wanted to be, for lack of a better term, kind of annoying, I could make this 7-point font. And that would allow me to fit in more stipulations in this small little box without having to add the additional stipulations page. And the reason I made that comment about to be kind of annoying is because tiny little font is not going to win you any favor with a co-op agent or your client or a closing attorney or Lynn or Alita. It's really just out of a functionality of trying to fit as much as you can in a small space. So scrolling down, now we get to our seller's signature fields. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to select seller 1. I'm going to add the signature right here. I'm going to format just a little bit down so it fits. Then I'll click on the name field and I'll add the name. And now it's going to default to 7-point font because I just changed it. So I'm going to make that back to 9-point font. And then I'm going to add the date signed right here. And I don't need to add their information here, but I could, if I wanted to, I could add their email address down here. And I'll do the same thing for seller 2. So signature, name, date signed, and email. And the nice thing about these fields is that they're going to, for now, they're blank, but because they are mapped to seller 1 and seller 2, the system is automatically going to add in their names and email addresses and everything there. And then I'll scroll down, and then I'm going to select myself because I want to add my signature field. So I'll do signature right here, and then I'll do date signed. And then if I wanted to, I could add some text boxes down here as well. So that way I could make this listing agreement binding.
If we miss anything, we can add it later, right?
That is correct. Yeah. So if there are any fields that you miss in the template, you always have the ability to add a text field in the envelope stage. So I'm going to click Save and Close. And now I have my exclusive seller listing agreement template. So now that we have our template, I don't want to go through the same process again for the purchase and sale because it's going to be redundant, but it's going to be that same process of going through, adding in the text fields, adding the check boxes, making sure everything is assigned to the correct person. So whether it be buyer, seller, or yourself. So now that we have this listing agreement, I can use it. The way that you will use a template is you're going to go back into the room side. So I'm going to click on my picture or your initials in the top right-hand corner and click Switch to Rooms. Give it a second to load. And then I'm going to come back over here for my test room, because I just want to go ahead and use this just so that way I don't mess any actual rooms up. And then I'm going to come to envelopes. Now, for you to use, well, actually, let me take a step back. Let me come to the documents page. If you use DocuSign Rooms in a traditional set format or functionality, you would add all of your documents into the room, you'd fill them out, and then create an envelope. However, if you are going to use a template, you do not need to add that document to the Documents tab. So if this were a new room for an actual client, theoretically, I could just go ahead and archive this exclusive seller listing agreement. Archive it, perfect. Because I don't need it. I don't need it in this room because I have a template. I know, all right, I've already made a template of my listing agreement, so I don't ever need to add that to the room because I'm going to use that in a moment. So now that we're good here, I'm going to go to the envelopes. The way that you use templates is in the envelope. It doesn't make the most amount of sense, but that's how DocuSign set it up. So I'm going to create a new envelope. So I'll click new. And I'm going to give this envelope a name, and I'll do test listing agreement 121. Perfect. Now, let's say you are putting together a bunch of documents to send to your client. I could click add room documents, and this would show me the list of documents from my room. So I could add either one of those. I'm just going to add the purchase and sale just for example, because I want to show you that you can mix and match room docs and templates. So I'll click add selected. So it's going to add in that purchase and sale document from the room. Now I want to add that listing agreement that I have as a template. I'm going to click on the use a template button. Then I'm going to select my templates, and it's going to show me all the templates that I've created. So I'm going to select my 2021 exclusive seller listing engagement agreement and click add selected.
What was the tab? It says all templates. What does that?
All templates should show you all the templates that you've created and the templates for the MCA office that I've shared with you.
Oh, okay. So shared with me is just the MCA, and then okay.
And then you have my templates.
Okay.
So now I'll come down here. I'll add recipients. I'll select pre-tagged roles. Now I'll come down here and I have my seller 1, and I don't have anybody in here. Let me click save and close really fast. I apologize for this. I'm going to come over to my details tab, and I'm going to add a seller 1. So let me just do Tony Stark, email kwfatech@gmail. And seller 2, we'll do Pepper Potts. And I'll just type in my personal. And again, at the bare minimum, when you're adding detail or contacts to the details page, you just need a name and email address. So I'll click save. So now I'll come back to envelopes. I'll come to my draft. We have my purchase and sale, and then our exclusive seller listing agreement template. And you can see if you, in the middle of the icon, the purchase and sale says form, because I know that's from the room. And then the exclusive seller listing agreement says template. So that's how I know that it is a template that I've created for myself. So now I'll come down to add recipients. I'm going to select pre-tagged roles. And again, it is always imperative that you select pre-tagged roles to ensure that all of the fields are mapped correctly. So I'll click pre-tagged roles, and I'll come here to seller 1, and I'll scroll down to Tony Stark. We'll do seller 2. We'll do Pepper Potts, and then I'll select myself as the listing agent. Now you can see that because I named those roles in my template, seller 1 and seller 2 and listing agent, they correspond with the same name of those roles for other documents in DocuSign. So it simplifies it. So now I'll click add selected. And there we go. So I will say this, if you are going to be using the template, it may be in your best interest for you to sign first, so then you can ensure that all the information is in there correctly. So I would update Tony to be signer 2, and then I will have Pepper be signer 3, and myself be signer 1, just to minimize any confusion. And then I'll come down here to message, listing agreement, and then type in message here. Now I'll click next.
If we, for example, find a mistakes, we have to void the whole envelope and make another envelope.
When you say mistakes, do you mean on the template or just from the way you filled it out?
I mean both.
So
for example, we come to the form and we see that, okay, we have something wrong in it.
So let's say right now I'm like, oh no, I found an error. I could just click on this go back button right here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do that really quickly. And then up here in the top right-hand corner, I can click save and close.
Uh-huh.
I could go back to my documents,
Mm-hmm.
open up the document that you want to make the change to. So we'll just fill this in here, and then I can make my purchase price, $250.
My question is, no, I think I got it. Yeah, I know that part, but when we send it, we already send it.
Oh, if you've already sent it.
Yeah, for example, we didn't select one. I should say it like this way, and we put all like 111 for seller 1, seller 2, and then we send it and we find a mistake. That was basically my question.
Yeah, you would then need to terminate that envelope, and I can show you that in just a moment.
Okay, terminate, you void it, right?
Yeah, avoid it, correct, yes.
Okay.
So now I'm going to go back into the envelope editor. So I can show you all the fields. So you can see here we have our exclusive seller listing engagement agreement, which is very long, and I have to get used to saying it. I have two options here. Since I am signer number 1, I could leave all these fields blank here, and then I can send it to myself and I can fill them in when I go to sign. However, I know when you're signing and you're in a rush and you're trying to get your documents out as soon as possible, things can just kind of breeze through. So I would recommend that you go ahead and fill in as much of this information here. So in this text box, you can just start, typing in Main Street, Atlanta, County, Fulton, zip code 30342, tax ID, I'll just type in a crazy number there. Legal description, I'm going to select. So this is kind of tricky in DocuSign. You'd have to either double click on it here or come over here to checkbox values. Oh, I guess it doesn't let me do it since I have multiples. All right, well, I guess I just learned something new. If you want to check it, you have to double check it versus a single check. See, if you just check it once, nothing happens. Check it twice or click it twice and it will load. So there we go. I have my one checkbox there. Can scroll down, again, fill in all this information. Let's do, I negotiated 6% and I'll share 3% with the co-op agent. Scroll down. Keep scrolling, lots of text. Again, I could select all of the brochures that I want to send. And then here we have our exhibits and addenda. And I didn't really know what I would be using, if I'd use legal description or not. So I didn't fill in, create any of these fields in the template. So all I need to do here is just add a little checkbox, or sorry, excuse me, text box here. So we'll do legal description. And I'll make this exhibit A, and then I'll add a checkbox right here. And I'll double click it. And now that's selected. So that's how easy it is. If you miss anything or you don't want to create those fields in the template, you can do that here. And I'm going to continue to scroll down. Now we have our special stipulations folder or box. So if I wanted to, I can type in stips here, more. So with the 7-point font, it fits a little bit more in there. And now for whatever reason, I don't know why, but the signature field got messed up, I guess. So just double check that and make sure you put it in the right place. So we have our client. So seller 1, which is going to be Tony Stark, is blue, and then Pepper Potts is purple. So come down here, I'm going to double check my signature field there. Everything else looks good. And then I would go through and do the same thing for the purchase and sale. Now this is not a template. This should be a form. So it should all be mapped here. So theoretically, I would have filled this all in previously. So now that you've added your template, you filled in all the information, you click send. And that's how you use a template. So I'll just click send. Now, since I set myself up as signer 1, I can just click here and I'll show you the process and click sign. I'll click continue, start. Now see here, it's gonna, these are all required. So it's filled it in, required. So, oh, I guess I just need to put 0 there. I should not have made those required. And it's gonna have me fill in all this information that I have on my template, and then sign, and then finish. So when you make those fields required, it's going to make you go through and double check. And that's how I was saying earlier, you do have the ability to fill in those fields in the envelope, or you have the ability to do it here when you're signing. Any questions on how to use a template?
Why did you select the text part as required? I remember you specifically when you added the stipulation, especially stipulation text. Why did you make that required?
Well, I did not make the stipulation text required. I made that optional, which just means that the system is not going to stop me to make sure that there's text in that box when I sign. And the reason I did that is because I may not include stipulations on every listing agreement. Okay. So I don't want there to be text there if I'm not including any. Mm-hmm. There's one last thing I want to show you in DocuSign and how to use templates. Now, this is probably going to be most useful if you're on a team or you have a partner, or even if you have a close friend that you want to share documents with. You can actually share templates. So I'm going to come back over to the e-signature side by clicking on my picture and then click switch to e-signature. I'm going to come back up to templates. Now, here are the templates that I've created. I could select this template here, and it gives me the option to download. So I can download this template. It's going to download a .json file or a zip drive that has a .json file in it. So let me just open up this little zip drive. Here we go. So I don't think you can see that, but I have a little .json file. So now what you could do is I could come over here. Let me just open up my email, and I can just click compose, and I can just do shoddy, and I could say template, and I can email this template. So I could just attach file, and then I'll come over here. Let me make this bigger so I can read it. I'm going to select the 2021 ESLEA.json file. That is the template file. So click JSON, click open, and it's going to attach that, and I can email that to Shadi. So that's how you could share templates. So if you and your friends want to kind of, split half the work, you can do that. So I could click send there if I wanted to. What I could also do is I'm just going to come back into templates. So let's say Shadi sent me this template. I could then download the template to my computer, come up here to the new button, click new, and then click upload template. And again, I would select that same template name, that .json file, and click open. And then here we go. Now I have new one right here. So you can see the first one I made at 10:20 and this one I uploaded at 10:52. So if I wanted to, I could probably rename this. Let's see. We can edit, create a copy, create power form. So I could edit it if I wanted to, and then I could rename it. So I could just do second doc, scroll down again, come down here, double check the information. So you would want to update this if you were sharing documents, or double check and make sure that it is all correct. Next, again, you'll go through here, double check all these fields, make sure everything is good to go, and click save and close. And that's how easy it is for you to download or upload documents. Now, I think if you're a single agent, you probably won't really need to do that. But if you are on a team and you want to make sure that every single person has the same templates, you could download them all and then share them with the individual agents and make sure that they then have all of the correct information on what those teams want on their agreements and purchase and sale documents. Any questions about templates that we've gone over? Anything I didn't show you that you wanted to see? Anything you want me to clarify or show you again? Any questions?
I just want to go, because it was very quick. I'm sure we can watch it like again, but just want to go very quick. So first, if I want to make a template for example, the forms that I want, like purchase and sales, conventional, and buyers exclusive. So I have to make the room first, download all the room, all everything in there, and then add the text, whatever I want in each forms, and then go to the signature tab, I believe, make the template, add all the text again, and just leave it there for whenever I wanted to use it.
Yes.
Right. And then whenever I have a client, for example, I make the room again for them, I can go to the envelope and download the templates from there.
Yes. Now, one piece of advice that I would give is be mindful on which documents that you do use or create templates for. You had mentioned, just for instance, the conventional loan exhibit. That document is pretty short and pretty simple, that I don't know if that would be the best document for you to create a template for. But I think something like a listing agreement, buyer brokerage agreement, or purchase and sale, where you may have consistent stipulations or pieces of information, that may be a better fit that can help save you time. So just be mindful, because I don't want you to spend a ton of time here unnecessarily creating templates and having to add every single text field, when it could just take you, a minute or two when you fill in the form normally. So just be mindful of that.
That's right. Yeah, those three, I think, plus the additional page for the stipulation, which is the most important one.
Yeah, I think Tim's idea of going ahead and creating that additional stipulations page as a template is really smart, and it's all good to go. You don't have to do anything. So, any other questions, comments, concerns?
Can I ask basic, when you're done with the template part, I have some basic DocuSign questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, if everyone is good with templates, I'll say, all right, well, we are done, and thank you for joining me. I'll put 4 minutes back on your calendar, and then Tim, let me just click stop recording, and then we can chat with your DocuSign questions.